Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of this month's night sky. I'm Alvin. It's August, it's almost the end of the summer, but before that happens, I want to share to you my favorite 3 objects to view in the night sky this month. Without further ado, let's get to the planetarium. Alright, so the first object on my list is the Perseid's meteor shower. Now this meteor shower can be viewed throughout most of the month of August. It's actually one of the best meteor showers to view because 1, when it peaks, there will be no moon out, and that means you'll have darker skies. And if you do live or are viewing this from really dark skies, you can see anywhere from 50 to 100 meteors per hour. The best dates to view this meteor shower will be at its peak, and that is August 11, 12, or 13. The best time to view this will be around midnight on each of those evenings. So which direction in the night sky should you be facing to view the Perseid's meteor shower? Well, the Perseids are known to radiate near the constellation Perseus. You see what they did there? And Perseus on August 11, 12, and 13 at midnight will be in the northeastern part of the sky. So you should face northeast if you want to view the direction where most of the meteors will be radiating from. Now Perseus is not the most obvious constellation in the sky to use as a reference point. For me, that's the constellation Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia looks like a W or a chair in the sky, and to me, it's a more recognizable constellation to use as a reference point. And from there, I just look below Cassiopeia, and that's where most of the Perseids meteors will be radiating from. Now, just because most of the meteors will be radiating in the northeast doesn't mean you won't find meteors zipping by in other parts of the sky. So just keep an open mind. So sit back, relax, grab some s'mores, and enjoy the light show. Number 2 on my list is the Lagoon Nebula. Now if you guys know nebulas, they're actually very fascinating objects to observe in the night sky because they are the birthplace of stars. And the Lagoon Nebula is no exception. It's one of the brightest star-forming nebulas to observe in the northern hemisphere. The other is the Orion Nebula, but that nebula doesn't appear to us until the winter months. Now to view the Lagoon Nebula, you first need to pick a moonless night. That way, the skies are not so bright and you can view this deep sky object. In this case, this is a simulation of the evening of Saturday, August 15th at 9:30 p.m. Now to find a Lagoon Nebula, you first will need a telescope because this is a deep sky object. It's 5,000 to 6,000 light years away. So unfortunately, you won't be able to see it with your naked eye. And 2, I advise getting a planetarium app, especially when you're on the field, to help guide you through the stars and help you use the stars in the sky to locate the nebula. So once you're out there, you should face the south, and that's where the nebula is located. From there, you should see the planets Jupiter and Saturn, and you can use this as your first reference point. From there, I like to find this trapezoid here just to the right of Jupiter. And that trapezoid of stars is part of the constellation Sagittarius. And the Lagoon Nebula is near this constellation. So once you find that trapezoid, skip over to this star here, which is part of the constellation Sagittarius as well. And then pick your largest eyepiece or the eyepiece with the least magnification. That way you can scan the sky effectively. And center your telescope on that particular star. Now once you do, I advise placing that star near the bottom of your field of view. And if you have a simple azimuth scope, a scope that can go up and down, left and right, this will make it very easy to find a nebula. So from here, you would just move the scope to your right, and you should, voila, run into the Lagoon Nebula. Now, like I said, the Lagoon Nebula is a star-forming nebula. So when you observe this object, it's really cool to see these bright stars together, knowing that they're only a few million years old.
And for me, I like to think about the potential evolution of these stars and have maybe them forming planetary systems someday. And that's just fascinating. Now, unfortunately, this image of the Lagoon Nebula from Stellarium is actually not exactly what you'll see under a telescope. Unfortunately, the human eye is not very sensitive to colors under dark conditions. So most likely you will see a gray gaseous, misty object in your eyepiece. Still fascinating because you'll be able to see these young stars within this gaseous anomaly there. Now, if you haven't seen the Lagoon Nebula before, I don't want to ruin your first impression of the nebula when you see it, but this is NASA's view of the Lagoon Nebula from its Hubble Space Telescope. And it's just a beautiful, gorgeous, colorful shot of the nebula. Our eyes are not Hubble, so you won't see this. You'll see gray, but it'll still be cool. Trust me. Finally, number 3. Number 3 is not exactly a single object, it's more like a 4-planet combo. And this combo consists of the planets Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, and Neptune, which is somewhere around here. And I'll get back to Neptune in a little bit. But these 4 planets will be all up in the night sky beginning mid-August to the end of the month. Since they're all up in the night sky, it's pretty convenient to view all these planets in one sitting. In this case, I have Stellarium simulate the evening of Saturday, August 22nd at 11 p.m. And Jupiter and Saturn on this evening will be in the southern part of the sky. So if you view Jupiter, you should be able to see with a telescope not only the giant planet, but its Galilean moons as well. And once you go to Saturn, which is just to its left, which it should be a sort of a dim orange dot to the left of Jupiter, you will be able to see Saturn's rings. You won't see its moons, but its rings will still be pretty cool. And as I've said in previous videos, I love the planet Saturn. I love viewing it. It's one of the coolest objects in the universe to literally stare at. So take your time here. Enjoy the planet Saturn. Once you're finished looking at Saturn, you can go towards the eastern part of the sky. It's going to be pretty low, so you have to have pretty good horizons on August 25th at least. And you will find this pale orange reddish dot in the sky, and that's the planet Mars. And to me, Mars is a pretty cool planet to view in the night sky, just because the U.S. and other countries have devoted so many missions to exploring this planet. And I think in this past week we would have launched our 3rd probe this year to the planet Mars. I believe the UAE, China, and US have launched probes to this planet so far this year. Okay, so about Neptune. Neptune, unlike Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars, is the least obvious planet to see in the night sky because you can't see it with your naked eye. You will need a telescope to view Neptune, as well as a lot of patience, and a planetarium app to help you use the stars and the constellations nearby as reference points to help guide you to the planet. But the way I would do it is to find the constellation Pegasus first, which is this giant square pattern in the night sky. On August 25th, it should be right above Mars. From there, you will try to point to this star here in Pegasus, and then draw a straight line to this star in the constellation Aquarius. Unfortunately, Aquarius is a pretty dim constellation. So under suburban skies, you will definitely need very good vision, or you should go to darker sky site in order to view this constellation a little bit more effectively. But if you're able to find this star in Aquarius and you recognize the constellation, try to move further down to this star here, which is also part of Aquarius. And Then from there, you're gonna move to this even dimmer star, which is the next star in the constellation, right over here. You may be able to make out two stars near each other in a darker sky environment. Try to point to the star right above it, here. And once you do, center that star in your eyepiece. Again, you want to use the eyepiece with the least magnification so you can effectively scan the sky. In this case, I am using a 38mm 2-inch eyepiece in an 8-inch reflector telescope. Once you center the star, try to move the star just out of field of view near the bottom of your eyepiece. And then move your telescope, especially if you have an azimuth telescope, towards the left. Wait, did you see it? Let's go back. And there it is. That is the planet Neptune. And this is why Neptune is pretty difficult to find, especially if you haven't seen this planet before. It looks like all the other stars in your field of view, except it's a pale blue dot. It shouldn't be twinkling, it shouldn't be shining. Just a beautiful pale blue dot. And if you're lucky enough to find Neptune, congratulations. You should take as long as possible to stare at this planet just because of how difficult the challenge was. If you have a computerized scope, go ahead and type Neptune in and have the computer find it. That's the best way to go, actually. And if you do have one, you're very lucky. One last thing about the planet combo, actually. If you wait a week later in August to Saturday, August 29th, the moon will move in. So you'll get to see Jupiter, Saturn, moon, possibly Neptune, and Mars at 11 p.m. on Saturday, August 29th. So if you're into that, wait till the end of the month, and you should have a good combination going for you here.
Well, I hope that was helpful. If it was, please like and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and until the next episode, stay curious.